Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending We Shall Come Overcome International Education Week session. Today we have Diana Osborne, who is from the Musical Bridges Around the World Operations Manager and Grants Manager. Diana graduated with honors from the State University of New York, Plattsburgh, with a Bachelor's of Arts in Broadcast Journalism. In 2012, Diana moved to San Antonio and fell in love with Musical Bridges Around the World's mission and has been with the organization ever since. With over 15 years of experience as pianist, Diana has dedicated many hours in churches across the country, including U.S. Air Force Joint Base San Antonio and Fort Drum Chapel Next. In her free time, she currently volunteers as a grant panelist of Community Arts Partnership in Ithaca, New York. Welcome, Diana.
Thank you so much for having us today. Musical Bridges Around the World is a performing and visual arts nonprofit organization founded in 1998 in San Antonio, Texas. For over 20 years, MBAW has been curating and presenting innovative, multicultural, thought-provoking artistic performances featuring musicians of the highest caliber from around the globe. MBAW serves a population of more than 25,000 people each year, from children to seniors. MBAW's mission is to transform lives through multicultural performing and visual arts by shattering barriers, creating connectivity, and inspiring hope for those with least access. MBAW's vision is a world where fine arts are acceptable to all. Our common humanity is recognized, cultural diversity is celebrated, and all are united in peace. MBAW is realizing its vision in the following ways. We offer performances free of charge. We bring and have performers from all over the world to showcase them in San Antonio. We create a sense of belonging and inclusion as people from all over the city come together for these concerts. I want to thank you for being here with us today for Musical Bridges Around the World's virtual broadcast of We Shall Overcome, Sister Cities and Friends. We are about to journey across the globe, visiting San Antonio sister and friendship cities, from Japan to Mexico to China, Germany to India and beyond. Our international music ensemble shatters boundaries with a program of hope and resilience. Please stay afterward for discussion and Q&A with Dr. Aaron Prado, composer for the Sister Cities Ensemble.
Tikva. Resiliencia.
Tuitaleni.
Wanderlust.
Kind.
Freiheit.
Resilience.
大同
Mut.
Jiritsu.
L'inconnu.
Esperanza.
Valarchi.
치유
Despertar.
Hair.
어머이야리
Musical Bridges Around the World is charged with the mission to transform lives through multicultural performing and visual arts by shattering barriers, creating connectivity, and inspiring hope for those with least access. My name is Sohail Arastu, and I'm thrilled to join you from the MBAW newsroom as we journey across the globe to San Antonio's sister and friendship cities. What is a sister city? Sister Cities International is an initiative begun by President Dwight D. Eisenhower shortly after World War II to develop economic, cultural, and technical exchanges between U.S. cities, counties, and states corresponding communities worldwide. The goal of Sister Cities program is to involve people and organized groups at all levels of society, establishing productive people-to-people relationships through global community partnerships and volunteer action. Today, the network represents 1,200 cities, counties, and states, and their 2,100 partners in 125 countries worldwide. As international cooperation gains importance, city-to-city programs continue to play a significant role in overall global development and cultural understanding. Let's hear from composer Dr. Aaron Prado on how music came into his life and what inspired his composition of this year's Sister City and Friends Ensemble.
My dad is a bass player, so music has always been in my life since before I was alive. They had a record player in the nursery in the crib, next to the crib, and I listened to John Coltrane and Keith Jarrett from early childhood. My inspiration for the Sister Cities concept first was writing for people from around the world that I had never met before. Then we put a concert together that I think touched us all as an example of how music transcends boundaries, transcends walks of life, transcends language and all the rest. And so this time around, I can think of who's actually going to be playing those notes. And I was writing for people. I think that's just one of the most fun things to do as a musician. Think of someone as an inspiration, write notes for them to play, and then the ultimate is to actually hear them playing it. And it's like goosebumps galore. That's the real joy, is having the music come alive from around the world with these people who were strangers, now they're friends, and now we're collaborators and colleagues.
Dumelang bagaetsho. Hemono mo mupitjong yena ya kitso. Ba itse ba re motho ke motho ka batho ba bangwe. Kana bulang matlo lo bone. Bulang ditsebe lo utlwe. Pula. Pula. The sun is gonna shine, the sun is gonna shine. And I'm gonna get what is mine. The sun is gonna shine. The sun is going to shine. And I'm going to get what is mine. What is mine. The sun is gonna shine, the sun is gonna shine. And I'm gonna get what is mine. The sun is gonna shine. The sun is going to shine. And I'm going to get what is mine.
Let's step back in time to hear from President Eisenhower at the White House on September 11th, 1956, on the importance of people-to-people relations.
People get together to leap governments, if necessary, to evade governments. The problem is, how do we dispel ignorance? How do we present our own case? How do we strengthen friendships? How do we learn of others? The exchange of professors and students and executives, the providing of technical assistance and the ordinary traveler abroad, about doctors helping in the conquering of disease, our free labor unions showing people, other peoples, how they work, what they earn, how they achieve their pay and their real take-home pay that they get. The billions we pour that we call a positive, constructive effort that leads directly toward what we all want, a true and lasting peace.
Over the course of decades since President Eisenhower made that speech, hundreds of relationships have tied the United States to cities around the globe through commerce, exchanges, trade, business, and of course, music. Now, 64 years later, let's return to the White House and hear from Second Lady Karen Pence.
Your leadership locally and internationally embodies the core of the Sister Cities mission to promote peace through mutual respect, understanding, and cooperation, one individual, one community at a time. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of art, especially in today's climate. As many in our nation and around the globe shelter in place, they turn to art. I'm glad to see representation also from our Department of State, Cultural Affairs, and National Endowment for the Arts, as well as partnerships with musical bridges around the world. Art unites people across cultures, religions, and man-made boundaries. Art communicates the abstract and inspires hope. At Sister Cities International, we are stepping up to initiate important dialogues and engage global linkages, civic and institutional partners. You know, when President Dwight Eisenhower launched this initiative on September 11th, 1956, he stated, "Two deeply held convictions unite us in common purpose. First is our belief in effective and responsive local government as a principal bulwark of freedom. And second is our faith in the great promise of people-to-people and sister city affiliations in helping build the solid structure of world peace."
In 2018, here in San Antonio, we commemorated our tricentennial, and for our 300th anniversary, we thought, what better way to celebrate than with fellow musicians across the globe? Well, 300 years may not seem like long to our partners, centuries and even millennia older, but it was a landmark year here for our city, which is more than 50 years older than our nation.
This vibrant city, with the charm and soul of a small town, it fills you up and stays with you. A shining jewel, full of history and wonder and lots of heartfelt moments. Not to be displayed or shown off, but to be celebrated by everyone. So when all is right in your world, we are here for you.
At Musical Bridges, as we open our 23rd season amidst a global pandemic, we thought we'd check in on our friends, see how they're coping, surviving, and thriving. We'll also hear reflections from their leaders, the mayors navigating these unprecedented times, and the role of arts, culture, and music in their lives and society as a whole. First, let's hear from the Chief Diplomat for the City of San Antonio, Shahrzad Dolatshahi.
I'm happy to join you this evening as we celebrate the 23rd season of Musical Bridges Around the World, which I'm proud to say is a local arts organization here in San Antonio, bringing music and art from all around the world to our city. This year, adaptability and innovation have been more important than ever as our world collectively deals with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. I would like to congratulate Musical Bridges Around the World on their continued dedication to providing the San Antonio community with the same high-quality musical programming, but on a virtual platform. We, at the City of San Antonio's Global Engagement Office, appreciate these continued cultural exchanges and strongly believe in the immense value that they bring to our city and its residents. When people across the world come together in celebration of culture, be it music, art, dance, food, there is an impact.
We'll begin our journey south of the border with the newest friendship city established just last year in 2019 with Mexico City, a sprawling city of 21 million, founded in 1521 AD and home to our trade office, Casa San Antonio. Let's hear from Magos Herrera.
Del templo un día llorona, cuando al pasar yo te vi. Salía del templo un día, cuando al pasar yo te vi. Hermoso huipil llevaba llorona, que la Virgen te creí. Hermoso huipil llevabas, que la Virgen te creí.
Since I was a child, music was a crucial part in my development, but I didn't know how to do it, how to relate to it professionally, especially. So I think when they ask me this, I always think that music came to me instead of the other way around, because the music made its way to me. I hope that all this time we have had the time to reflect in how we want to reinvent our life out there. And I'm grateful that we have ears that can share music.
In 1974, Guadalajara became our sister city. I had the privilege of visiting a few years ago during their 475th anniversary during the U.S.-Mexico Mayor's Summit, organized by Sister Cities International and led by our very own Mayor Ron Nirenberg. I was astounded by the heritage, culture, and cuisine in this Silicon Valley of Mexico. I asked Leon player Vico Diaz what music means to him, and also heard from this city's mayor on their storied cultural assets.
For me, music is the representative of what is a human being, which is body, soul, and mind. I think that three elements convert in the human while he is playing music is to live the present with full consciousness, and that's one of the proofs that we are nature, and we need and we should to live the present and enjoy the moment.
Solidaridad sería la palabra que nos debe orientar en el futuro tras la pandemia. Trabajando de forma corresponsable y conjunta, podremos salir, estoy seguro, fortalecidos de esta batalla. La singularidad cultural de Guadalajara es su riqueza y vitalidad en disciplinas como la literatura, el cine, la música, el diseño, la gastronomía, la artesanía y el arte digital. Elementos que la han convertido en cuna de talento creativo, la innovación y la tecnología. Gracias a que fortalecemos la relación entre la tecnología y la cultura para lograr hacerla llegar a cada uno de los hogares, con actividades y eventos como este concierto virtual de jazz. En Guadalajara, la música de cuerdas, canto y trompeta, emblema de México y declarada Patrimonio Cultural de la Humanidad por la UNESCO en el año 2011, es la que por excelencia nos acompaña en las reuniones de familia y amigos. La pandemia nos deja un gran desafío. Nuestro compromiso es seguir trabajando arduamente en el fomento y respaldo de la actividad cultural. Siempre he disfrutado del rock, tanto en inglés como en español. Por ello, bandas como Caifanes, Led Zeppelin y Metallica me acompañan desde mi juventud.
Like San Antonio, Guadalajara shares UNESCO designation, and we're glad to see the relationship continue to flourish. We move now to not only our first sister city, but the first Mexican city to have a sister city. Monterrey in Nuevo León, established in 1953. Artist Arturo Avila joins us.
Vivir sobre esa idea de acaparar bienes, cuando vemos que la vida puede ser tan frágil y en cualquier momento pues podemos dejar de existir, ¿no? Y de qué nos sirvió el acaparar todo eso. Grabar videos y subirlos a las redes, y de esa manera acercar la música a la gente y que al menos pase un momento divertido.
Pues sin duda el carácter emprendedor y de esfuerzo de los regiomontanos son dos valores culturales que han dejado huella y nos representan a nivel mundial. Aquí en la ciudad donde vivo yo es, por supuesto, la música regional, que es, le llaman la música norteña, que es muy parecido a la llamada Tex-Mex. La cumbia también es muy aceptada en muchos barrios populares aquí de la ciudad. Y también la gente joven le gusta mucho el pop rock.
We travel now across the Pacific to Wuxi, China, with Xia Chen on Erhu, and hear from her mayor in this metropolis of 6.5 million, twinning with San Antonio in 2012. Wuxi traces her roots back to the Shang dynasty in 1600 BC. That's right, BC.
I think music is something we will connect every day. It's just like something from nature. It has evolved into our daily life, and it plays a very important role in our daily life. The pandemic has taken a heavy toll in people's hearts, and I think music can help them restore their confidence in daily life, to help them get rid of those worries. For the vision, I hope that all of us will work together and work hand in hand to overcome the difficulties so that we can embrace a bright future as early as possible.
我个人比较热爱运动，所以也比较喜欢跟运动类有关的音乐。对我来说，运动类的音乐就意味着愉悦和灵感，不仅能够让我放松心情，缓解疲惫，还能激发想象力和创造力。我们无锡最知名的音乐形式是二胡演奏。二胡是一种中国传统的拉弦乐器，至今有1000多年的历史。无锡走出了不少一流的演奏家，无锡的梅村街道更是公认的中国二胡之乡。疫情发生以来，圣多尼奥对无锡的关心和帮助，我们也铭记在心，让我们备受感动，备受鼓舞。我们坚信，疫情会一时阻隔两地的往来，但绝不能阻挡两地的携手合作，互利共赢。
If you're here in San Antonio, check out Scholars Rock at the San Antonio Museum of Art, a 6.5-ton gift from Wuxi that sits along the river and on the museum grounds. Next, to Kaohsiung, Taiwan, known as the best port in the world for deep-sea fishing, where we established relations in 1982. Cheng Shen Huang woke up well before dawn to speak with us from the other side of the planet.
The most important thing is we all standing on the same planet. We have to think about how we can do for this world, and in the tragic time, we still have to provide something to give people happiness. There is a word I just thinking about. It's called 大同, which is close meaning in the word unity. I hope the world and people will be more and more empathy to each other.
那在我们的传染病防治法的规定，我们用大数据的分析、电信资料以及防疫的措施，让我们成功的掌握我们在做居家检疫的防治措施，来阻止我们的疫情的散布。高雄市将持续中央流行疫情指挥中心合作，秉持着公开透明、政府与民间的充分合作的台湾模式，来强化我们城市的防疫的能量，守护市民的健康跟安全。休闲的时候，我也会听古典乐放松，也喜欢独立的乐团，例如以台语创作朋克音乐的在地乐团。高雄规模最大的音乐节叫做大港开唱，集结了南台湾独立的乐团为主的创作，包括流行、摇滚、电子、民谣等等不同的风格的在地元素，这也象征了多元人文风土的高雄。高雄是我的故乡，音乐对我的意义就好像回家的感觉一样。
We moved to Japan, where in 1987, sister city relations were cemented in Kumamoto on the island of Kyushu. Here's an image of Musical Bridges founder Anya Grakovsky visiting Kumamoto Castle. In San Antonio's Botanical Garden, we have an authentic Japanese garden, which is a national living treasure, while Kumamoto was gifted a 19th century prairie garden for their botanical center. Now, a few words from musician Tomoko Sonada and Kumamoto's mayor.
転換期でおそらく大勢の人が集まったところで一緒に演奏をするとかのことができない時にこういうツール、新しい手段を使って、しかも世界中をつないで普段だったら絶対会えないような、以前の演奏した仲間と会って、一緒につながれるっていうのはすごく安心感を与えていただけるし、本当に感謝しています。で、今後はこういうあり方がおそらく増えてくることと思います。なくならないというか、本当に大変な思いをしている人たちはおそらく音楽を楽しむという余裕もないと思うんですけれども、どんな国のどんな歴史を今まで見てみても音楽が絶えたことはないわけで、絶対そこに存在して続いていくと私は信じています。音楽っていうのはやっぱり漢字2文字で表すんですけれども、学というラーンの学問の学という部分も絶対あるわけで、本来であれば楽しむものだと思いたいんですけれども、私たちミュージシャンはおそらく学ぶことが山のようにあるわけであって、両方とも、ずっとその意味が楽しむと学ぶということを両方やっていかないといけないなと思います。
The importance of connecting with people across national border, online and through music, especially in time like this. I listen to a pretty wide range of genres like jazz, rock, and classical. With jazz especially, I like Steve Gadd. Music to me is something just as vital and important as air or water. 思いやり, it means compassion in English.
Established in 1981, our relationship with Gwangju, Korea led to a gift of the beautiful Korean pagoda in Denman Estate Park. Let's hear from their mayor and artist Soo-young Park.
Music is the way of explain myself and express my emotion to people without language. Music will be a venue for empathy and solidarity, looking into one's inner self and reaching out to one another. Now is the time for the world to join force to overcome the crisis. We must not forget that we have hope. I can say in Korean word, 치유, 치유. That means healing, healing of nature destroyed from human beings, healing for those suffering from pandemics.
안녕하십니까. 대한민국 광주광역시장 이용섭입니다. 오늘 샌안토니오에서 전 세계 12개 우호도시 예술가들이 함께하는 이번 공연이 코로나19로 인해 큰 어려움을 겪고 있는 지구촌 가족들에게 큰 위로와 희망이 되기를 바랍니다. 어려울 때일수록 나눔과 연대의 힘으로 다시 일어서기를 간절히 기원합니다.
We move now to the subcontinent on to Chennai, formerly known as Madras in our sister city in the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu, where we established relations in 2008. Because of this bond, San Antonio now boasts the largest city-sponsored Diwali in the US, attracting over 40,000 revelers last year. Let's hear from Prasanna on what drew him to the guitar and how artists are expressing themselves during the pandemic.
There was a neighbor next to my house who used to play guitar. I think he was playing guitar in the church. So me and my older brother would go there and just spend time listening to him play the guitar, whatever he was playing. And so I guess that's how I got hooked onto the guitar and thereby music. Music itself evolves due to what happens in society. So it's like a symbiotic relationship, so that this pandemic and what it has done to all of us will also reflect in the expression of artists. Valarchi. Valarchi means development in Tamil. I would say, in spite of all that, we will develop. We will develop as a human race, we will develop as a better civilization, and we'll come out of this.
From our friendship city since 2011, creative, tech, and entrepreneurial hub, Tel Aviv, we hear first from the mayor of this Israeli city on her vision for the future and saxophonist Shlomi Cohen on what type of music he listens to.
I am proud of my city for acknowledging and helping the people who most needed it in this difficult time. I hope that we will soon be in brighter days of solidarity and unity, and most of all, hope. As we say in Hebrew, tikva.
I started when I was 5 playing classical piano.
up to 11, and then I picked up the saxophone, and that's what I've been doing since then. I'm really into groove-oriented music, so anything like funk or fusion, like jazz fusion or pop. What you're doing is wonderful, and sending a message of unity throughout the world for all humans. You know, I think music has that power of connecting people and being able to relate.
In 2016, Windhoek, Namibia became San Antonio's sister city. Let's now take a trip across the Atlantic to our first African partner as we hear from the renowned Alamo on what music is to him, and from his mayor on what the world can learn from our current situation.
Meshiwa, oh Meshiwa, Kalahari. Meshiwa, oh Meshiwa, Namitese. Meshiwa, oh Meshiwa, Kalahari. Meshiwa, oh Meshiwa, Namitese. This land of wide open spaces, so many, many, many faces.
Music is that one thing that when you don't know where else to turn, the nostalgia gets too big, and you need an understanding of the pressure that we're living under as we enter this new normal, masks all the time, in some places, curfews. Music was going to play a big part of just even trying to just get you dancing and trying to get you out of your head and get you into a higher vibration state. People have formed communities around these festivals, these musical sessions, and it's now no more. So the experience for me is, at least as a musician, as a traveling musician, is not to take this for granted, what I do. The one word I would express in my mother tongue, Setswana, is mood. Which mood, you see, it's connected. Mutu means person, human being. If we have to face ourselves with this, that we're all humans, we're faced by a common enemy, invisible as it may be, mood.
One thing which the world can learn is unity of purpose. This is the time when community leaders work together, seeking the understanding of the reality of our residents on the ground. This helps us to mitigate the wide-ranging and ever-changing effects of COVID-19 in the best interest of all. What I learn most and what I would love the world to learn is people working together with a common goal.
Seeing the mayor looking over the city reminds me of my time atop Dune 7 when I visited this cleanest city in Africa that is the only city on the continent that recycles its own water. Saxophonist, composer, and educator Susie Isis joins us from the nation's capital, Windhoek.
Throughout this whole process, I learned mainly to be prepared. I think these things will happen in life. It's never happened in my life, and but we've had SARS, we've had other big problems where you just feel like you don't have control, you can't travel, you can't work. And so I think the most important thing that I learned during this pandemic is to be prepared. Financially be prepared, spiritually prepare yourself, know that okay, I can't do this, but what can I do? Can I play my instrument? Can I create? And that's what I learned. I learned the importance of why I am on this earth is to create and to keep creating, because that's what makes me happy. Namibians love all different types of music. There are 3 styles: Kwaito, it's got house, a little bit of house styles, African styles, and then we've got house music, which Namibians love, playing house music, electronic music. It's just a great thing. People love, just you have the whole week to work, and then you just want to come home and dance and just have a good time and feel stress-free. And then we've got African traditional folk music, so very, very old traditional songs that old musicians have performed. They're still in our hearts. We still sing them till today.
Solidifying our courtship in 2017, we move next to Germany, to our sister city of Darmstadt. Known for biotech and engineering, this city of science is known as Europe's Silicon Valley and features a thriving startup scene. Let's hear from their Lord Mayor and artist Anke Schimpf on how music connects to life.
Since I was 6 years old, I play instruments and I never gave up with it. And I remember my mother when I play and when I listen music. And this is a great feeling for me because my mother died last year, and with music, I remember her. I started with classical music when I learned instruments, but I love jazz music because you can play a jazz tune in happy style or in sad style or in a moving style or in a calm style. You have several possibilities in jazz songs to bring your personality in the song, and this is what I love about jazz music. My vision is Freiheit. We are dependent on this situation, and I hope to be free again after this pandemic, and therefore I think about freedom, and in German language that means Freiheit.
Like so many other cities around the world, Darmstadt was hit hard by the pandemic. We managed to keep the infection rate relatively low thanks to the trust in local government and solidarity of Darmstadt citizens. Darmstadt always connects the two, the thinking about music and the sounds themselves. Live music that challenges and entertains at the same time. That is what our city is about. Always on the edge, Wanderlust. An urge for travel and philosophical exploration of new pathways towards global peace and well-being.
Representing the Canary Islands is timpal player Benito Cabrera. We have 2 sister cities on the Spanish islands where San Antonio draws a long historic lineage. Las Palmas, the capital of Gran Canaria, established relations in 1975, and Santa Cruz de Tenerife, a vacationer's paradise, just a few years later in 1983.
Bueno, la fiesta más importante de la ciudad de Las Palmas de Gran Canaria es su carnaval. Y además es una fiesta que define a la ciudad, es una fiesta muy cosmopolita, integra a todas las realidades, que significa una gran ciudad que acoge a personas de todo el planeta, de todos los continentes. Así que si bien el carnaval es uno de sus símbolos de identidad, es la fiesta más importante, Como consecuencia de ello, esta ciudad también es una de las ciudades con más actividad cultural de toda España. Es una de las ciudades más grandes de España, pero al mismo tiempo una de las ciudades con más vida cultural de todo tipo y además de toda índole y con todas las influencias culturales y étnicas. Resiliencia, la capacidad de resistencia que se ha tenido y que se va a tener para esta pandemia, porque estoy convencido de que vamos a salir adelante y que vamos a superar esta situación como hemos superado muchísimas otras.
Buenas a todos y a todas. Desde Santa Cruz de Tenerife, cocapital de las Islas Canarias, les envío un saludo en nombre de todos sus habitantes. Momentos tan difíciles para todo el mundo, seguimos empeñados en mantener lazos vivos con nuestros hermanos de esa ciudad americana, cuna de la descendencia de tantos isleños que buscaron sembrar más allá de nuestra tierra, en la otra orilla, un futuro común de esperanza. El mismo en el que tenemos que empeñarnos hoy en sostener a toda costa por el bien de nuestros respectivos pueblos. Que así sea.
Moving back across the Atlantic to our neighbor to the north, we visit an arts and culture hub in Montreal, Quebec. We hear from Mathieu Van Villette, his reflections on the rhythm of life and how he and his fellow musicians have adapted and reinvented themselves during this pandemic.
I listen to a lot of jazz, or that's where I came from originally. And today I've been listening more and more to Latin American music. It's just a thing that happened to me with Cuban music at first, and it spread to most of the Latin stuff. Montreal is most known for is its festivals. Montreal has a very hard winter, and it really translates into a fantastic dynamic in the summer where music festivals are just non-stop. You go back to the basics, and I realized I could be really happy with half what I had. Sometimes I'm like, how are we all that busy? Like, madness. Everybody, like, world is so crazy. Everybody's busy. And then you're like, why do I put myself in that situation? You're like, hey, the rhythm of the COVID confinement was actually pleasant somehow. What we're doing now with people from around the world, I've done with local musicians, everybody recording from their homes. And it's a very interesting way to re-explore or to see how collaboration in music is becoming easier, and the boundaries of distance are just disappearing, really.
Finally, we make our way home, back down in South Texas to Ruby City. Now, the man behind the drums who united the ensemble, Brandon Guerra.
The lesson that I've learned from all of this is that you can plan for a lot of things, and you've got to be able to adapt. I love hip hop and rap, and I love avant-garde experimental music. I love Brazilian music and bossa nova and samba. I love pop and the Beatles and all kinds of stuff. Duke Ellington said that there's only two types of music, and that's good and bad. So I like good music. You know? If there's one word I could use for my vision of music in the future, it would be hopeful.
Mayor Nurnberg is Chair Emeritus of Sister Cities International and the former General Manager of our local jazz station, KRTU. We asked him about San Antonio's strongest cultural assets and what type of music we are best known for.
I think the strongest cultural asset of San Antonio is the confluence and the heritage, a place where people from different backgrounds and cultures come together and mix and create a community. We are the Tejano and Conjunto capital of the world. We're very proud of it. And that is one genre of music that I think is unique.
Mayor Nurnberg, what has our response been to the pandemic in partnership with our sister cities?
What San Antonio has demonstrated in this pandemic response is the importance of collaboration and teamwork, reaching across different jurisdictions to learn from each other. We gathered up PPE and other donations from organizations here in San Antonio and sent them to our sister city in Wuxi and throughout the region. We did not know at that time that we would be the recipient of those kinds of donations from China and Taiwan later on during the pandemic when the United States was suffering the brunt of it. So these partnerships are sustaining, we learn from them, and they also are great shows of solidarity that give us the emotional support and psychological support we need to get through.
Beverly Houston, a San Antonio legend, tells us how music came into her life and what type of music she finds around our city.
The jam sessions would be always at my grandmother's house, and I can remember as young as 5 or 6 years old, I was right there in the midst of of all that music. I guess you could say every member of my family can play or sing something. I've decided I wasn't going to take anything for granted anymore, that I'm gonna hug my family a little bit tighter and call on my friends and tell them how much I love them, and just play more music. Here you can find jazz in San Antonio. You can find country and western. You can find gospel, spiritual. You can find easy listening. You can find classical. That's why I love living here.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday.
We shall overcome indeed. Thank you all for taking the time to join us on our journey as we visited our friends from around the globe. We're especially grateful to all of our artists, civic partners, sponsors, and especially the entire international relations team at the City of San Antonio for making this virtual concert possible. Stay connected and good night.
Thank you everyone for joining us and watching. I hope you're as inspired as we are every time we, revisit and watch it. I see some hearts and some good comments in the chat. So thank you everyone. We're so happy you could be here. I want to take a few minutes to open it up for Q&A and a little discussion. Today we have with us also Dr. Aaron Prado, who you saw in the video. He's a pianist, composer, arranger, educator, and radio personality here in San Antonio, Texas. And he worked extensively on this project with the artist. And so I thought it would be an interesting conversation to have him join here and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you so much for being here, Aaron.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just want to start out, I'll kind of start out with a question, and then if anybody else wants to jump in, go ahead and feel free. You can either just unmute yourself and ask, or raise your hand or type something in the chat. So Aaron, I want to start with, so we did this project in 2018 for the International Music Festival. And so you all kind of practiced and worked on your own, and then everyone flew in to San Antonio to all perform together in person. What was it like during that first experience, not knowing anyone, and then, all practicing on your own, then coming together? What was that like?
It was kind of overwhelming, but it was, really great, kind of overwhelming, where, everybody brought their own music, and we just had a couple of days. We had like a week worth of rehearsals, and people got in on different days, so not everybody was there at every rehearsal. But it was like, bring something that represents you and your music through the lens of you and your culture. And so we had, everybody in the band had something. So there was a lot of music in a short period of time to get it right. And everybody was playing with everybody else. So everybody was not only bringing their own stuff, but learning each other's songs. And so it was just this incredible, like, wow, like we have this mountain of music, and everyone was so professional, so great on their own, that they not only sounded great for their own music, but then they supported each other, and each individual's portion was just this, masterpiece with people that they had never met before, who were, before strangers, now becoming colleagues and friends. And so by the end, we were just like this, this big happy family. And it was really an incredible experience.
Were there any barriers that you guys had to work through when you finally all got together?
No, I mean, some people didn't speak English as well, but there were, once you get on the bandstand, everybody reads music. So we were able to figure that out pretty quickly. And it was mainly, honestly, the hardest part was all the logistics of who plays what on what song. And then when we got there, it was a difficult technical setup when we did it. So that was actually the hardest part of the concert, was making sure everybody felt comfortable getting their sound and doing their best work.
And so then fast forward to the virtual project that we had. I know in the video you say that, it was, you had already basically met them. So then you had the person in mind as you were composing. So want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, you have to keep in mind as you watch that video that no one was in the same place at the same time. So how did that even happen? Well, what we did was Brandon, the drummer, and I, and on the We Shall Overcome Beverly Houston, recorded sort of like a baseline track, meaning just we played through the song, sort of a core, like just rhythm thing, and then we sent that out to everybody along with the score. Each person had their own part, with instructions where to improvise, anything like that. And then we made like a timeline, like printed out, like in words, to say, okay, you play here, you do this, okay. And so with these instructions, they said, okay, record it from your house or wherever. And everybody recorded their part individually, sent them back one by one, file by file. And then Brandon, got to give a lot of credit to Brandon Guerra, the drummer, who pieced it together, took everyone's audio and everyone's video and stitched together the final product that you hear, which has these magical moments. And you're like, how could they even know? You know, some of it, a lot of it was written down, a lot of it was improvised. And so like when you hear like the saxophone and the guitar solo at the end, they didn't hear each other. And somehow it's like this perfect match. It's just really goosebumps all the way around. And I mean, it was just, when I heard the final product, I'm like, whoa, how did we do that? A lot of credit to Brandon for stitching that together, because that was a hard thing to do.
You guys did an amazing job with that video. Oh my God. I'm listening to you, and I was wondering how you put it all together, because you're dealing with so many countries, and then that there's so many time differences, you know? So I was like, whoa, okay. But you did explain how it all came together. I'm really amazed about that and how everyone partnered with each other. So congratulations. It's a beautiful video. I hope that we can share it with others. I wish we would have known about this organization with Music Bridges and the work that you guys do. And I hope that we can continue to collaborate with you guys and see how we can do other projects together. Congratulations. It's beautiful. I love it.
Sounds great. Yeah, you know, I'm at Northwest Vista, teach music there, so I'm home team here.
Awesome.
Hey, Aaron.
How are you doing?
I'm good. That was great. I really enjoyed it. Something really neat with like study abroad is when we have like encounters with musicians in other countries. I took a group in Italy up to Fiesole in a Roman amphitheater. We saw a classical performance with a guy on electric guitar. So it was great for students to see that kind of fusion between two different types of music. And I really appreciate what Musical Bridges does. I've seen like Japanese drum performances at San Fernando Cathedral. So I think they're just such an important cultural asset to the community. So thank you for all you do.
Erin, I have one more question, if no one else does. Okay, so you know, as I was watching the video and just rethinking about the project, I was thinking about the synergy perspective of diversity, and where, you know, research shows that diverse groups have the potential to outperform like homogenous groups in complex decision making and innovation. And I was, you know, thinking like, wow, Erin, you've worked with all different groups, you know, you've worked with your own group and, you know, musicians from all over. How could you compare the experiences between working with local musicians and then working with such a diverse like group? Did it make the experience more rich?
Oh, of course, it certainly made the experience more rich. I mean, it doesn't hurt that these are, I mean, you know, literally world-class musicians who many of them are, you know, some of the like Magos Herrera and Prasanna and Shlomi, or these are musicians who actually like are based out of New York, actually. So we're saying, oh yeah, like they're not like Prasanna wasn't actually in India when he recorded that. They're New York City musicians who split their time certainly, but like they're based in New York because that's the music capital of the world. So you have these, I mean, incredible artists, and just the caliber of musicianship is at such a high level. Yeah, it's more than I could have done. Not to say we don't have great musicians here in San Antonio, but just like the diversity of musical language. I mean, Prasanna with his virtuosity, Magos with her incredible instrument, and then all the other, the erhu. I mean, you know, we don't have erhu around here, you know. That was that interesting instrument. I'm making the thing like from China. So I mean, you know, just like the possibilities, some of the palette, if you will, of musical sounds was just completely, you know, different from what we might get locally. Locally, you can play with somebody every week and really develop that rapport. But with these musicians, what we lack in time spent together to get something, you know, prepared is more than overcome by just the incredible ability of the musicians and the way that the different abilities are different from everyone else. So we have this like, you know, this dynamo of different ideas. It's really incredible.
Ideas and perspectives and, you know, experiences and all that stuff plays into it. And that's why I loved our video so much, because everyone talked about what they've been going through and, the reason why they love the music and how it's helping them even through the pandemic. So I think all of that plays in, right?
Absolutely. That's incredible. And I think they were all very grateful for the opportunity to make music with each other again. It was a real comfort for everyone individually during the pandemic to, have a project. And they all had their own projects, but just to like, hey, you remember Musical Bridges, Sister Cities? I was like, yeah, everyone was really gung-ho to do it. It was really a warm feeling, even though we were all in our different places,
Yeah.
I hope we get to do the in-person version again. That was really a thrill.
That would be a good reunion when everything is, back to normal, quote unquote.
Okay. Well, you need to send us invitations if you do that.
We will.
Absolutely.
Yes, we'll have to think of some kind of collaboration.
Definitely. Okay, well, thank you so much for bringing this musical video to us. And we will definitely be sharing this with others as well. So
thank you so much for having us.